Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of Everything Kratom, the podcast about anything and everything Kratom. Great to have you with us on this Wednesday morning. Hoping all is well with you out there today as always. I have just gotten off the plane after flying back to my native home. And good trip. Short trip, good trip. So, lessons. Kratom can be taken in capsules from Albany, New York to Washington, D.C. and back pretty much no problem. I think that the small airport, the small town aspect, I mean, Albany isn't like a small town, but compared to anyone in a city, they'd probably see it that way. I think that the small airport aspect really does come into play. Washington, D.C.'s airport, DCA, was not difficult, and I didn't really have any worries taking the capsules with me. They were not flagged, no one gave me any trouble, no worries. Now, with that being said, I think that in the future, if I'm going to take Kratom with me, which I think capsules were the best way to take them with me, and I don't think I want to bring powder with me ever, like loose powder, which I've done before. I think that if I'm going to do it again, I will bring a package that has not been opened yet. This is not because of any reasoning, that has to do with my travels or that I had any trouble because of them being in a package that was open. But I think that a lot of the time, like, part of the internal struggle or the internal suffering and torture that is like brought upon myself by myself happens because of little things that are completely avoidable that end up causing me worry. So if I had taken a package of capsules that were unopened, I don't think that I would have had any thoughts about this whatsoever, but because the package was open, for some reason that gave me any sort of cause of concern. Again, nothing ended up happening, so if anything, this is just something that I need to change how I think about because there was no cause of concern. But at the same time, again, Albany's a small airport. It was a short trip, and I don't know, everything was on time. I wasn't running late. I didn't seem rushed. And also the people who were on duty are just in a good mood today in Washington, D.C., and so they didn't have any trouble either. But like, all it takes is one person who's not in a good mood, and it could completely change how everything is treated. So I think that in a worst case scenario, I would want whatever I'm bringing with me to be unopened, not unsealed. and that kind of is just reflecting on like all of the negative stories that comes out about Kratom and how it, so many of them originate from a story where a package is an unsealed package or unmarked package or whatever it may be. I want all of my ducks in a row when I fly on a plane. That being said, no worries, it was pretty easy. Who knows, I could have taken like straight powder with me, but it's not worth the risk in my opinion. But I think I technically could have done it. My one piece of advice for anybody else who is considering flying with Kratom is know the laws of where you're flying to and from, as well as your rights, and consider the fact that it might not be worth even having to deal with that. And what is the worst case scenario? Obviously, if it's the best case scenario, nobody gives you trouble. But if it's the worst case scenario, what could that look like? And if there's any sort of legal ramifications of that, I don't know. I don't think it's worth it. I personally have kids, so I don't really think that it's worth it at all when it comes to legal ramifications. But since I knew that there were no legal ramifications for me doing this, other than the worst case scenario, them taking it from me, I wasn't worried. But if I was flying anywhere else, or if it was a longer trip and I would be taking more with me, I think I would just not even bother. I think I would just leave it and deal with it, and that'd be fine. But that would be my one piece of advice. Other than that, I'm not claiming anybody should do anything, and I'm certainly not saying anyone should be flying with Kratom. But if someone's considering doing it, I think all those things should be taken into account. Let's see, what else? Oh, it was interesting. While I was in DC, I was walking around and I saw a few smoke shops, and they did indeed have Kratom. And I didn't, you know, go inside. This was a work trip, but I did see an image of a smoke shop when I was like on Google Maps or whatever, trying to find this place I was meeting someone at. There's a smoke shop. It's like, oh, you know, they have a photo of the inside, like one of those 360 photos. So I looked at the photo and I like zoomed in and I was like, I wonder if they have Kratom. And I didn't see any, I didn't see any. I was like, oh, okay. And then like out of the corner of my eye, I spot like just a huge green, like quarter shelf. And I zoom in and it was blurry, but all I could make out faintly were the words Mang Da with like really bold lettering and I don't know, some sort of fun design, not quite sure what. But then I kind of zoomed back out again and realized, oh wow, that whole shelf is actually Kratom. I didn't even realize it. It's just I'm not used to the packaging. But there's a lot of Kratom there, so apparently Kratom is a thing there. Yeah, there you go. I didn't see any kava bars, but it doesn't mean they aren't there. I just didn't see any personally while I was walking around. But there you go. So this trip over and done with. Mission accomplished. Back home I go. And hopefully no TSA check ahead of walking through my own front door. All right, there you go. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode from our home base here. And thanks so much for listening. Thanks for coming on the trip with me. Talk to you all then. Bye-bye.